Hello and welcome to SHEnanigans, the show where I interview women in the community who are doing big, brave things in an effort to amplify their voices and their impact. So it's going to be a monthly show. It's brand new, and I'm not really sure where it's going to go yet, but hopefully to some great heights. And so if you know of a woman in business who has either just started, is finding her way, or has done something really amazing along the way, whether it's a for-profit, nonprofit, or something in between, please suggest that person to me. I would love to have them on the show. And that's what we're going to do. So my guest today is Celeste Hartwell from Divine Feminine Leaders. And welcome, Celeste. Thank you for agreeing to be my first guest and believing in this little enterprise.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I think, we've talked about this before. We've been in each other's circles for a little over a year, almost 2 years now. And I think one thing that we both believe, is that women are really underrepresented, not just in business, but in terms of the coaching world and being given the green light to succeed. There are so many barriers, so many things that we come up against. In history, I'm also a historian, and one of the things that drives me crazy is that history is typically all about the men, usually the white men, and the women's voices are kind of forgotten and left behind. And so I'm trying to correct that, and in the past, by bringing to light some of the really great women that have been in our communities in the past who have done amazing things, but also for the future, bringing it forward and amplify, like I said, some of the women that are doing great things. So thank you for being here again.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here.
Absolutely. So tell me, you've had quite the journey, the entrepreneurial journey, right? And I think a lot of us have, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the misconceptions out there when you're starting a business is that you have to have, it's kind of like when we have to pick a career at school, right? Like you have to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And if you change your mind or fail at it, well, then you're a failure.
That's what you got.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not really the case. So tell me about your journey and how you got here.
It's a long and twisting path. And so I worked in corporate for 18 years. That's the beginning of my journey. I kind of fell into utilities, electricity and natural gas, and really created a really great career out of that. Accidentally, but also it did become more intentional as the years went on. But I always knew that I wanted to be helping people, and I didn't know what that was going to look like. When I was young, before I started working in utilities, I thought it meant being a teacher. And I always wanted to be on stage in some way, but again, without being a singer or an actress or like something really showy, which really wasn't where I was called to be. How do you do that, right? And so then having this 18-year career, when I ended it, I just knew I wanted to create my own path, and I wanted to help people. And I did not want to go back for another 4-year degree. And so when I found coaching, and originally health coaching, then I was like, oh, this feels really good. I had been on my own health journey, and I thought, yeah, I can really help people with this. But then I came into contact with well-meaning business coaches who said, if you're a health coach, you have to focus in on weight loss. And that didn't feel good for me as a woman who grew up in the 80s watching my mother dance to Richard Simmons, not because she loved her body, but because she hated her body and loathed it and wanted to change it and fix it. So health coaching was never really something that sat right for me. And so then I kind of took some different paths and really now help women not only find a way of selling with integrity and feeling really good in the sales process, but also being able to listen to their own intuition and their own guidance. I just feel like anybody who's telling you this is the way to find success and this is the only way that's the way that worked for them.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And so I think it's well-meaning, but that's the way that worked for them and isn't necessarily the right path for everyone.
Absolutely. And I think there are so many parallels to that, whether it's the coaching industry, online coaching industry.
Yeah.
I came at my business in a similar way as well. I started out in the online space as a fitness coach, and as somebody who didn't know, I recognized early on that I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't even know what I didn't know. So I signed up for a program that was geared towards getting me clients. And so we had a very specific set of protocols and processes to follow. And one of those was really sort of pain point marketing, with speaking to what you said about feeling icky in sales. And it was really, you know, I've told this story a lot and I will never stop telling it, but it was basically what we were told in not so many words was go on Facebook, find overweight people, friend them, and then ask them what their health goals were. And I was like, oh, that is just so horrible. I cannot believe that people are teaching this method of marketing. It felt really unaligned with my values and who I was as a person. Plus it was just, you know, profiling based on a certain look. And then all the scripted of like, this is what you say first, and this is how you snare them into your world. It just felt really, really gross. And I think a lot of us, but it works. It does work. It is a mechanism that works, but it's not a mechanism that then got me the clients that I really wanted to work with, right? Who were in the space that really wanted to change or do what I wanted to help them with.
Well, you're taking people from a space of guilt and shame versus feeling empowered and excited. Right. And there's a real big difference between working with somebody who, you know, is feeling that judgment, self-judgment or outside judgment versus somebody who's like, I just want to do this because this feels fun and it gives me life and I get to help people. And
Right. It's that whole what you focus on grows element, right? Like if you're focusing on the negative, the stuff you want to run away from versus the stuff you want to get to, massive difference. Massive difference. So how did you, so tell us a little bit about Divine Feminine Leaders, first of all, so we can sort of put this whole conversation into context. I'd also love to know where that name came from, because naming your business is a whole other story. And who you help and how.
Yeah, so I always laugh when people say, how did that name come to be? So Divine Feminine Leaders, my original business was called Beautiful You. I felt like that felt really good to me. And of course my LLC was my name. Like that just made the most sense in the moment. And then I had a dream. This is so ridiculous, and I apologize for the ridiculousness, but it's also just authentic to what happens.
Never apologize.
I had a dream about, and I don't even remember the details of it. I know I wrote it down. I have it somewhere. But I had a dream where Oprah Winfrey came to me and said, no one is telling the stories. I don't know, she said something about the divine feminine. And then Tony Robbins shows up in the same dream. Like, clearly I was deep into the personal development movement at the time. And he said, no one's telling the stories of women. And so with her saying divine feminine and him saying no one's telling the stories of women, it kind of, to me, it was divine feminine stories. And it started off as a podcast idea. I'm gonna do this podcast, I'm gonna interview people, I'm just gonna interview women and let them tell their stories. And I had a coach at the time who said, well, I don't really care about divine feminine stories, but I wanna be seen as a leader, a divine feminine leader, and like something in that just landed for me. And so it was this really fun experiment of like, okay, well, let's see what happens there. And it was right at the time when, like, if you've been around the spiritual community at all, if listeners or watchers have, it was right when the divine feminine was coming really up, and like nobody was really talking about it, and then everybody was. And it was kind of in that time period where I got that name, and so I was able to get divinefeminineLeaders.com and was able to trademark it and all the things. And so it was, I think, you asked about the,
I asked you like three things.
You asked me three things, and I'm not marking the other ones.
We'll go back there, but I just want to comment on like the difference one little word can make, right? Swapping out leaders for stories. It helps people feel seen. It helps people feel heard. It helps them sort of hone in on, yes, that's what I aspire to. That is the label that I want. And it just makes it so much more tangible.
Yes.
The other part of the question is like, who do you help and what do you help them get?
Yeah, and so just staying on the name for one moment before we go there, I think it's not only like aspirational, inspirational, it's how people want to be seen, but it also taught me a lot. Like I was like, who am I to have this company called Divine Feminine Leaders? Like there was a lot of like imposter syndrome in that, and questioning, do I have what it takes to have this type of business, right? And so my invitation to anyone who's like observing is just knowing that you'll be called forth, and that's trust the process, I think, is mainly, right? Like take one step in front of the other.
Right.
So the women that I really help the most serve the best in my community are women who typically have had like a long corporate career and now are shifting, moving into creating their own business, whatever that is, whether it's attorneys or coaches or just all sorts of different industries. I do attract a lot of attorneys, which I'm not mad at. I love them. I worked with a lot of attorneys in corporate.
Telling you something there.
I worked with a lot of attorneys in corporate and did a lot of contracts, so I can speak a lot of their language in that way. And I really help them feel more confident about who they are, but also to be able to sell in integrity, like we were talking about at the beginning, and find, again, that path that fits for them in their business. Like I'm a big woman who talks a lot about stages, especially as women. We have all these different stages of life. If we've chosen to have children, then we have the child rearing stage. If we have a job, then we have the career stage. If we have ailing parents, we have that stage, right? Like, and empty nesting and all of those things, and then building a business is a different stage. And so it's like, what stage of life are we in? How are we prioritizing that? And also understanding that it's going to shift and change depending on what's happening in our personal life. So one of the things I'm really passionate about as a holistic business coach, is kind of what I call myself now, is like helping women blend life and business to make it all work for them. And not just growing a business for the sake of growth, but growing it sustainably in the life stage that they're in.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And I think that's one thing that often stops entrepreneurs, male or female, but women in particular, is, we're also taught from a very young age, this is your path. You go to school, you go to college, you get a career, you retire, you maybe knit for a while, and then you die. And to really sort of buck this thing that's laid out for us, it's not the path for everybody. College isn't the path for everybody, right? In general. So like, to give yourself the permission to deviate from the norm is really powerful. I think also, to your point about the voices or the doubt, there's that imposter syndrome is huge, and it's the little voice over here and the little voice over here, and they're constantly going at each other. But one thing that I learned early on that really helped me in my entrepreneurial career is you don't have to be the expert. You don't have to know everything. You don't need to be at the top of the game. There's always going to be somebody ahead of you, and there's always going to be somebody behind you, right? And you just need to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of the person behind you to be able to help them along the way. Find your way forward and help the people behind you find their way forward, and that's all you really need to do.
Absolutely. And the analogy that one of my mentors used to use is like, you can be a 3rd grader helping a kindergartner. Like, you don't have to be the college level, graduate school, PhD in your topic. You know more than the people that you're serving. And I think that going back to like selling, when we've embodied what we're teaching, then we're going to feel more confident about it, right? And so, or teaching something that we have results in, selling something that we've done for ourselves or done for others and that we have some track record in, is the #1 way to like feel more confident in sales.
Right, but that brings it
in business.
In business too. I mean, that brings in that whole piece of integrity and ethics, right? One thing that I learned early on is like, you don't sell results that you don't personally have, whether you've not achieved them yourself or you haven't helped somebody else achieve them as well. And we see a lot of this in the online space, and I think that's also why selling feels really icky, because people are selling stuff that they have no business selling. And sometimes they don't even really know what they're selling. They're just parroting the latest template, or these are the things that get my go. It's like, here's the exact post that got me 10K in sales. And like, that is just so false. It doesn't tell the full story, and there's just so much more behind it. But selling the results that you actually have is really, really important.
Yeah, for sure.
So who have been your mentors along the way, and like, how did you get to this point?
Oh my God, so many. I had my first business coach for 3 years. She's out of Brooklyn. I had another mentor who ended up moving to California. I followed so many people online, and my biggest, and I don't feel comfortable saying people's names.
That's fine.
Partially because I really trust that whoever somebody is guided to have in front of them in that moment could be the person that they need to have in that moment. Do you know what I mean? And so I've learned from so many people, but I will say probably one of the most impactful things, so I'm crazy, and I'm willing to own that. One of the most impactful things that I did on my journey.
We call it neurodivergent.
Neurodivergent. I am actually, and I only realized that within the last 2 years. Thanks for never diagnosing girls in the 80s. Appreciate that, all of culture.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I really felt called to do was to do a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And I did that in India. And I always tell people, you don't have to go to India. I had to go to India because I wasn't doing it here, and I really needed to. And that was a really profound, impactful experience for me. And it helped me start trusting more of me before I trusted somebody else's 10-step program to make $1 million, right? And so I would say, like, whatever a higher power is for a person, to connect with that on a daily basis, on a small basis. I always tell people I didn't start with 10 days. I started with silent breakfasts at someone's retreat, and then silent dinners at another retreat. And, you know, like, just a little bit of, and when I say silent, I mean no talking, maybe just journaling by yourself, no real connection with the outside world, right? Like, no technology, and just doing that for an hour a week is really impactful, right? And so I think that helping to tune out so many other people's opinions, experiences, teachings can be really beneficial to start to listen to ourselves. And that's something I'm really, really passionate about. Because I myself, like, was buying all the programs and doing all the things, and then it was like, I have to just, like, tune this out, really sit with, who am I? What do I know? Okay, I've learned a lot. Now, what's my actual next step, right?
Yeah, how am I going to implement this? I think, you know, that's something that a lot of people don't give themselves space to explore. And it's really important just to sit and be in your own energy. You know, if you had said, be in your own energy to me 10 years ago, I'd have rolled my eyes and thought, you are nuts. But to stop comparing yourselves to others, integrating what has worked for others and thinking that you're wrong for doing it your way, or thinking a different way, or reacting to it in a way that's not positive necessarily, isn't wrong. And that we get to listen to ourselves, and we often have the answers inside us. It's just there's so many competing messages that we're hearing, right? Especially in the women's world. I mean, if you go back to that weight loss thing, like, what did we all see on the covers of magazines? Waifs and skinny girls and all the things that launched all of our traumas. Up,
all
right?
of our food stuff. Yeah.
So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it is well-meaning. I believe the majority of it is well-meaning. And also, we now live in a society where we are getting bombarded with information all of the time. And even, like, to touch on AI for a brief moment, it's such a great tool. And also, tune into your own knowledge first, and then use it as
A tool.
as a tool and not as the thing to create everything, right? You are the creator, if we want to get really esoteric here. You are the creator of everything in your life. And by taking back some of that responsibility and some of that power, then you can use the tools absolutely to be more efficient, to create more content for your community, whatever that is, but not relying on it and really having that time internally on a regular basis is, I think, the most powerful mentor or coach I've ever had.
I think responsibility is a huge one, but since you brought up mentors again, curious, did you always have a mentor? Did you go into this business thing like, I need a mentor, or did you try and figure a lot of stuff out on your own first?
I had quit my job. I hired a career coach.
You did.
As soon as I quit my job. And that was helpful. Like that, she took me through such great exercises that really helped me figure out what am I passionate about, what do I really want to be doing, and all of that. And that was how I came to coaching, was because she was a coach and kind of figuring that out. And then I kind of went through a summer where I called it following the signs, and I was out in nature. I was hiking a lot. I took real time off, which was hard. That was a big identity shift to just like go from working full time for so many, almost 2 decades or more than 2 decades really, and then to being almost retired in a sense, you know what I mean, before my 40th birthday. And so I lost the question now.
Did you always have a mentor?
Did I always have a mentor? Yeah. And so then I was invited to this conference, this like business conference. And I just thought, you know what? I want to meet a photographer. There were a couple different things that I really wanted in that moment. And I didn't know how to run a business. And it happened to be a business coach that was putting on this conference. And it happened to be, she was selling from the stage and she was selling her program. And so, yeah, I kind of jumped into it with mentorship from the beginning, but thankfully I had enough resources. I had been saving for a long time. I had, worked a long time, and so I was able to do that. I acknowledge that not everyone is able to do that, and that was a place of privilege. But
mentorship isn't necessarily that model every time.
That's fair.
I think when women, well, for me it was true anyway, when you start a business, you feel like, and I'm a very strong person, I have a really hard time asking for help in general, right? I'm going to do it myself because I don't want to be judged or seen as weak or whatever, because all the things. So I think when a lot of us start our businesses, we feel like we should know all the things. Just, we know the thing we want to start our business around. Therefore, we should know how to run a business. We should know how to do our books. We should know how to market. We should know how to do all the things. And we resist getting a mentor or asking questions and asking help because we feel like we're going to be judged as, well, what are you thinking starting a business? You don't know the first thing about it. You're going to fail. So I'm really glad to hear that you had a mentor from the beginning, and I wish everybody starting a business, every woman had some sort of support like that, because it is so key. Like, don't resist it.
But I love what you said too about it doesn't always have to be a coach or someone that you're paying. I think that there's a lot of value out there now in this world where, like, if somebody doesn't feel like I am big now about, like, make sure your bills are paid, make sure financial security happens. This is part of my process with sales, that I teach my clients. Make sure that you have self-care, and that also includes financial self-care, that you're not spending beyond your means and doing so in a way that you can't pay your mortgage and you can't put food on the table. If you are in that space going into any type of sales conversation, guess what? People can feel that. Like, whether they're conscious of it or not, they feel that desperation, and they feel like their next meal is dependent on you. And that is the quickest way to turn somebody off and make them go, yeah, no. And so I always tell people, when I hear people say, like, oh, I can't afford that, whatever, I'm like, oh my God, there's a book about it. There's a podcast about it. There's a YouTube channel about it. I'm sure you could follow somebody on TikTok if you're into that. Like, follow somebody on Instagram. I don't care what that is, but, like, there is so much information that, like, there's so much is available at the fingertips in this moment.
Yeah, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because then you're like, oh my goodness,
It can
which
be
one do I
overwhelmed.
follow?
It can be overwhelmed,
I
absolutely.
think that's absolutely key, that there are all those things. We're very good at making excuses for ourselves, like I can't do this, or when I've done this, then I will be able to do X, Y, Z, which is all stories we're telling ourselves. Our brains keeping us safe, right? Keeping us from harm, keeping us from doing the crazy things. But the crazy things, that's why the magic is.
It
right?
is.
It really is. I think one thing that you said, now I've lost my train of thought. I've lost it.
It's
We'll
okay.
come back to it.
It'll come back if it's meant to be.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
So, what do you consider, to be maybe like one of your greatest successes in this whole journey?
Oh, that's a great question that I did not know was coming.
Sorry.
No, I think one of my greatest successes has been trusting myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was really brought up in a way that taught to trust external figures more than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say that, I also mean by improving my communication.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to communicate better with my partner, better with my clients, better with my colleagues, being able to ask for what I want as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say it.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a fairly direct person, but I'm much more direct now. Like I used to be much more passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wouldn't know that you pissed me off, but you'd feel like you pissed me off. And like, you know what I mean? And it was very hidden. And then I realized like, guess what? Nobody can read your minds. Like they need you to say the thing,
Yes.
And so I think that's been a lot. So a lot of reclamation.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think that is beautiful about the entrepreneurial journey is I think that we get to, when we realize that we really have control over who we are, our own identity, like shifting identity and being brave about that. I mean, you say that, one of my most proud of, I changed my full legal name. Like I was not born Celeste Hartwell. That was such a journey to go through. And part of it was doing a lot of meditation and silence and really honing into like, who am I and who do I want to be in the world, right? Instead of like, okay, yeah, I can absolutely look at who I've been in the past, but like, who do I want to show up as now? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really key. Be the person you want to be. Like, be that person now. Don't wait. You don't have to change your name and your whole identity.
Yeah,
but
no, just me. I just have to do crazy things.
No, but that's exactly you embodying what you're just talking about. Saying you're stepping into that, you own it, and you go for it. And I think we really need to, because there is so much that keeps us from doing the things. And that's what I was just saying, like when I have 10 more clients, then I will do X, Y, Z. Then I will, whether it's buy the Bentley or, go take the vacation or quit the job or get divorced or whatever the thing is.
Like if you want it that bad that you're planning
it now.
Do it now.
And it seems like such pie in the sky or a very like flip kind of advice, right? But like if you have to think it, breathe it, act as if in order to get there. Because if we keep thinking about where we are and all the barriers and all the stuff that's keeping us back, we're gonna stay stuck and we're gonna stay back.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And I think as you're talking about that too, one of the things that really comes up for me that I'm so passionate about is that, I'm passionate about most of these things because I failed at them at some point.
You failed
and
up.
I failed forward, right? And I was able to learn the lessons from them, which is, I used to like constantly move the success finish line on myself, right? And being able to just say like, no, what is the success to me? Defining it. Is it a number of clients? Is it a revenue, goal? Is it starting a group and getting it to this many members? Like whatever that is, really having tangible numbers around it, having a tangible goal that we can achieve. I find clients like they just do so much better. I do so much better. And then celebrating the hell out of that, right?
Yes, yes.
Celebrating that you hit that, celebrating every piece that you learned along that journey, every time you failed forward, every time you made a mistake, because in the word, it's a mistake. You get to do it again, right? And so I think that's so key, and often we can miss that at the beginning.
Right, and I think a lot of us are taught or believe that a win has to be massive.
Right.
But it doesn't. It could be you know, you got up and you did the thing. You sent the email, you made the call, whether it was a cold call or a response call or whatever. It can be really, really small. And to your previous point, specific is terrific. Like, you have to know like what you want, right? That's something that I've learned too. Is like, I want this. I always used to be so like big and verbose and so vague. And if you're vague, the universe doesn't know what the hell to deliver to you. And that's not woo, although, again,
it's woo,
previous
but it's
me
faith.
would have rolled my eyes and like, oh, yeah, the universe, manifesting, whatever. But
it's facts.
Yes.
And your brain works better in that, right? Because you give the brain, okay, so if you want to take it out of the spiritual realm and out of the woo realm, like, your brain works in tangible things. And if you're saying, I want this big thing, your brain doesn't know how to get you there, right? Whereas you're like, I would like 5 more clients. Then all of a sudden you're specific, and there's going to be steps that show up. And I run a book club as well, and we're currently doing The Artist's Way. And
The Artist's Way?
Yeah, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Amazing book, professional development, artistic development, all of that. But this chapter that we were reviewing last night in the club was talking about small steps, consistent small steps to get to big goals. But we think big goals means we need to do a big thing right now. And that is not true. That's too much for us to wrap our heads around. Like, it's the small, consistent daily actions, or 5 days a week, or whatever that is, that really will get you there.
Yeah, 100%. How to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Although I don't love that
I don't want to eat an elephant, but I appreciate the sentiment.
It's baby steps will get you there every step of the way. How do people find you if they want to have a conversation with you or work with you?
Yeah, so divinefeminineleaders.com is my website. It's kind of set up in a really easy way to actually get time on my calendar to chat with me. Conversations are always free for me. It's just about getting clarity and helping somebody
believe in you.
Well, just to build the relationship, right? And somebody doesn't need to want to work with me even in the conversation. It's just about building relationship, building rapport, and seeing how I can serve them in whatever way that is. Is it sending a book or a podcast or a YouTube video? Is it working together? I don't know, but it's just connecting, and it's connecting and it's serving in that way, and that's what feels good to me. So yeah,
I love it. What would be like the key piece of one piece of advice, because there's so many pieces of advice for women starting a path towards, whether it's entrepreneurship or starting a nonprofit or starting some sort of impact-driven exercise or entity, where they're maybe not believing that they can? What would you say to them?
I would say get really clear on your values. What are your values? Who do you want to be in your business? And let that guide how everything else happens. Also, I think I'm really a big proponent of mindset work. And if you believe that sales are going to be hard, if you believe that running a business is going to be difficult, if you believe that marketing is awful, that's going to be what that's what your brain is going to look for, right? And so retraining some of that to really being more gentle. Failure is a part of success. It is all the way on the path to success. It's not going to kill you. It's part of what's growing you and making you this amazing person that's going to be able to serve a lot of people.
I love that. I think, mindset work is definitely something that I was slow to come to. Again, the woo, right? Meditation, sitting still. I'm a person that's always going, and I can't sit still for long periods of time. But also not just doing mindset work once I finally realized how important it is, but doing it on an ongoing basis. Mindset is not something you do once. It's not a one and done thing.
Oh, how I wish it were, though.
Right? But you can't. Your relationship with money is really difficult and deep rooted, and a couple of sessions on mindset isn't going to flip the switch. You have to live it, breathe it, practice it on an ongoing basis.
Practice.
Practice.
I say that to my clients all the time. This is a practice. I'm inviting you into a practice here, and you're going to continue to practice it until it really feels rooted, right? But it's a growth. You're constantly growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope we can keep on growing. Thank you so much for coming onto this first show, which I called SHEnanigans, and I didn't actually even talk about that. I picked the name because shenanigans is one of those words that often has a negative connotation, and it's kind of like the hysterical woman, right? Like whether it was the suffragette or it was the trailblazer or the woman who thought she could fly a plane. We've often been encountered sort of criticism and judgment, and like, oh, bless your heart, you'll never achieve that. So I'm going forward and celebrating the women that have done these amazing rebellious shenanigans and calling it SHEnanigans, and I'm really hoping to make an impact with this by amplifying more women's voices. So thank you for believing in this idea, for coming on, for being my first on the show, and I will see you offline.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Really excited. And to the viewers out there, if you know a woman that I should have at this table or on the chair, we're going to be on comfy chairs next time, or if you would like to be that woman, drop a comment below on the YouTube channel. You can find me at 2icopy.com. Somewhere, get a message to me, and we will have that. We'll make that happen. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.